What's going on, Muscle Monsters? Alain Gonzalez here, and in this video we're going to go over 7 tips that you can use in order to start gaining weight and building muscles, specifically if you're a naturally skinny guy who finds it hard to put on size. Alright, so without further ado, let's jump right in. Tip number 1, follow a full body workout routine. The reason you want to follow a full body workout routine is very simple. In the beginning, you are going to be hyper responsive to the stimulus of training. Alright, so you're not going to have to hammer every single muscle group with loads of volume. You're better off focusing on the big heavy compound lifts, right, and increasing the frequency in which you train each muscle group. This is going to, number 1, allow for spending more time in a growing state, right? Because every time we hit a muscle group, we elevate muscle protein synthesis, and by the time it drops back down to baseline and you're not growing anymore, you, again, hit that muscle group and you are in that growing state. All right, so if you compare someone who, for example, hits their chest on Monday and then doesn't again to the following Monday, what you're going to see is an elevation in muscle protein synthesis, drops back down to baseline, and it stays there until the following week. Someone who trains their chest 3 times per week is going to see that elevation, and once that starts going back down to baseline, they're going to see that elevation again. Essentially, they are spending more time in a growing state. Not to mention the repeated bout effect. Right? The more frequently we train a muscle to a certain degree, the more efficient we become at recovery, thus allowing us to, over time, do more total work without burning ourselves out. Tip number 2, focus on the big, heavy compound lifts. These are the exercises that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck and time in the gym. You are building your body, you're not just building your biceps. So if you're in the gym, the majority of your time should be spent focusing on the exercises that are going to put overall mass on your frame. And then towards the end, maybe 10 to 20% of the work you do can come in the form of isolation lifts, where you're kind of fine-tuning those weaker or smaller muscle groups. Tip number 3, focus on strength. Now I know the goal is size, but because the main mechanism by which we actually build muscle is progressive overload, it's critical that we are doing more work over time. The simplest way to do this, especially in the beginning, is to add more weight to the bar. This isn't to say that you should train like a competitive power lifter who's prepping for a meet, but you should always walk into the gym with a goal for every exercise, specifically your main heavy compound lifts, right? If you are bench pressing 135 pounds for sets of 10, and then you do that same weight next week, your body has already adapted, it's going to find no reason to grow. But if we increase the weight to 140, right? Your body has to adapt to the new stimulus, thus you'll build new muscle. Either that, or you can do the same 135 and do more reps, which also means you've gotten stronger. So again, as long as you're getting stronger, you're pushing more weight or the same weight for more volume, then you will continue to grow. So again, every time you walk into the gym, you should have a goal, and that goal should be to do slightly more work than you did the previous time you were in there. Tip number 4, the Ballpark Method. You have to eat enough to grow. I suggest using what I call the Ballpark Method, which is where you take your body weight in pounds, multiply it by 20, and start off by eating that many calories. The reason I do this is simple. In the beginning, you don't have to fret over how much you should get from fats, how much from carbs, and how much protein, because the truth is that when you're eating this many calories, you're going to have no problem hitting your fat intake, your carb intake, and your protein intake. All right, so take your body weight, multiply it by 20. That's the amount of calories you'll start off with. Track your weight every morning, and then at the end of the week, get an average weigh-in for that week. At the end of the second week, do it again, and you're going to see whether you are gaining weight, maintaining, or even losing weight. In most cases, you'll be gaining weight, but at some point you will stall. You'll notice that the average weigh-in did not increase. That's the point where now you just slightly increase your calories by about 250 and continue repeating this. All right, and every time you stall, all you have to do is slightly increase your caloric intake, and this will ensure that you are constantly eating enough or reaching that calorie surplus in order to maximize growth. Tip number 5, increase your meal frequency. All right, this is a simple one. It's going to be a lot easier for most people to consume 3,500 calories in 6 sittings than it will to consume that same amount in 3 sittings. Okay, so if you're currently having 2 or 3 meals a day, then really try increasing that to maybe 4 or 5, and this is going to make it much easier for you to consume the amount of calories that you actually need to reach that calorie surplus. Tip number 6, have at least one homemade weight gain shake per day. All right, in the beginning, especially for us naturally skinny guys, it's really hard to stomach the amount of calories that we need. But when we are consuming semi-solid foods, the appetitive response is much weaker. So this means that we can consume, 800 to 1,000 calories in one blended shake and not feel as full as we would if we would have consumed that in whole foods. Okay, so you want to take maybe some oats, some milk, your protein powder, banana, some peanut butter, blend that up and drink that. And what you're going to find is that you're going to get a bunch of calories and you're not going to feel too full for too long, making it easier, again, to hit your calorie goals for the day. Tip number 7, train your appetite. Okay, our metabolism is extremely adaptive. And a lot of the time what we'll do is we'll go through the day, we're busy, we're running around, we're hanging out with our buddies, we're working, we're going to school, whatever the case may be, and you come to and suddenly you realize you haven't had one damn meal all day. And so now you have to take your 3,500 calories and jam them all into, a couple of hours. And that's just not ideal. So when you train your metabolism, what you're going to notice is, number 1, when you have a schedule, you are going to be more or less likely to miss meals, thus more likely to actually hit your calories. But more importantly, you're going to find it that when you're on a schedule, you are hungry during those times. For example, if you're skipping breakfast right now, for the next week, I want you to force yourself to have maybe a small shake in the morning. What you're going to realize is that now when you wake up, you're going to be hungry already. And you could do that throughout the day. If you're always skipping lunch, force yourself to eat lunch every day for a week, and you're going to realize that come lunchtime, you're naturally going to feel hungry. So you're essentially training your appetite to be hungry at these times, making it much easier for you to hit your calories for the day. And that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you found this helpful. And real quick, before you go, I just want to let you know that we still have copies of my book, Bulk Up Fast. They are completely free. All you have to do is cover the shipping cost. So if you scroll to the description box, just click the first link, go there, tell me where to send it, cover the shipping, and it's yours. It'll be delivered right to your house. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section, and I will talk to you in the next one. Peace.